It's late and I gotta go to bed. But with summer ramping up, there are a litany of new or new-ish that I can now finally get to soda flavors out there. It's really been interesting um, how, like Mountain Dew, they tried something I think in the early to mid 80s, didn't quite work out, but then they hit it with Code Red in the early 90s and kind of haven't looked back. Livewire, Pitch Black, Baja Blast, and so on. And they've gotten like like half a dozen flavors a year between the Voodoo and the Baja and the summer with the USA or Liberty Brew, whatever they're going to call it this in the summer, and then maybe a holiday flavor and a whole bunch of stuff. They're going crazy. They're kind of dialing it back a little bit because they've recently discontinued Spark and Major Melon and what was the other thing that they have? Some of them they're white out. They're tamping down those flavors, but nonetheless they released a new Baja flavor. Um, and so then Coke released Cherry Coke in the 80s, and then around 2000, Vanilla Coke, then Cherry Vanilla Coke, and then some Orange Vanilla Coke, and a couple other Coke flavors. We've seen that. Pepsi has followed suit because, of course, they got Mountain Dew, so why can't they do the same thing with Pepsi? Um, but the two soda labels, brands that I found really interesting that have kind of come up with the new flavor game are Dr. Pepper. With a few years ago, they released Cherry Dr. Pepper, and that stuck. And so the last 5 years, they've had new flavors between the cream soda and the creamy coconut and the dark berry and the blackberry and the strawberries and cream. They're kind of getting into that vibe too. It's like, oh, hey, maybe people don't like a Dr. Pepper, but maybe they'll like a Dr. Pepper with blackberry. Or if we call it cherry, maybe they'll like that. And so this, I find this new flavor really interesting because 7 Up, until a year ago, just did not do flavors. They had Cherry 7 Up in the 80s. Then in the later 80s, they released 7 Up Gold, which flopped. And so since then, they've just been 7 Up and Cherry 7 Up forever. But now they've had 3 new flavors in a year. About this time last year, maybe a little earlier, Tropical 7 Up. Then for the holidays, Shirley Temple. And now we have Endless Summer 7 Up, which is a strawberry and watermelon sort of 7 Up. Well, that's going to be interesting. If Cherry 7 Up was cool and pink, what color is this going to be? Because strawberries and watermelon are usually lighter reds or even pink because, of course, the dark red is cherry. And these two soda flavors usually tend to linger. So this is going to be really interesting to try. And not only is 7 Up getting into this new flavor racket, they're also getting into the vendor exclusive vibe because Endless Summer is exclusive to Kroger stores. Kroger or in my neck of the woods, Pick and Save. So let's try it out. Yeah, you can smell the watermelon. Although watermelon, strawberry, and sodas are kind of the same sort of deal. You can smell them early and then they linger. Mmm. Hmm. What you get at first is the watermelon trying to try to cleanse your palate almost. Then the strawberries come in with the sweetness, and then the watermelon lingers as well to give that uh, curious mouthfeel. Mm, 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 mm. Yep, it's sort of the watermelon texture and the strawberry flavor that lingers, and that's really kind of yummy. And of course, I'm reminded a few years ago, before the Coca-Cola Creations sublabel was quite a thing, the marshmallow Coke was a strawberry watermelon as well. Although that was strawberry and watermelon at Coke. This is strawberry watermelon and maybe some lemon lime, but the strawberry and the watermelon just overpower it. So as you can see, it's yeah a little actually. Hmm. Very similar to cherry 7 Up. Maybe a little bit more red. No, actually, no. Yeah, that's true. Cherry 7 Up has always been like kind of a light red, dark pink. Now the fizz is still a 7 Up kind of fizz, which is harder than a cola, although not quite as crunchy as a Sprite. Well, we'll be checking a couple of new flavors of Sprite later this week. Mm. Mm. Wow, that's something. That is a something. So, would I take 7 Up Endless Summer over regular 7 Up? Hmm. Maybe it's probably just the novelty saying, but yeah, I would probably take this. It certainly got more flavor than a regular 7 Up, or maybe it's just because I'm used to the lemon lime, and this is a definite strawberry watermelon. It's not quite as deceptively sweet as Major Melon was. Major Melon, when you tried it, you didn't think necessarily that was sweet until like a few minutes later, and then you went, yeah, that was actually really sweet. This is more honest about it. This is the strawberries are going, yep, we're sweet right up front. Enjoy. Since it's 7 Up, it's still caffeine free, so the only buzz you're going to get is from the sugar. Big deal. Again, the mouthfeel is crunchy, but not as crunchy as a Sprite. I could probably chug this if I really had to, unlike a Sprite, because if I got to chug a Sprite, forget about it. But otherwise, yeah. Pretty yummy. I don't know that I would have this if I was having a cheeseburger or something. It's a little too much, to be having alongside food without it taking away from you appreciating your cheeseburger or what have you. Now you could have it with some chips or something, but if you're going to actually sit down and have lunch, I don't think I would have that. I think I'd have a regular 7 Up. Yeah, because the texture is kind of the same. It'd be just as great for your upset tummy as a regular 7 Up. So, yeah, pretty much all things being equal, I would take this. And Endless Summer. Thanks for getting the Richard Marx song stuck in my head, guys. But it probably won't be available, heck, even through the rest of the summer, let alone endlessly. But maybe. But even then, still only at Kroger stores. So if you get one nearby, give this a try. So thanks for watching and have a good night.